Hello, this is Dr. Grande. Today's question is, can I analyze the case of Jessy Kurczewski? Just a reminder, I'm not diagnosing anybody in this video, only speculating about what could be happening in a situation like this. If you enjoyed this video, please like it, subscribe to my channel, and consider supporting me on Patreon. I will put the link to Patreon in the description for this video. First, I'll look at the background of this case, move to the timeline of the crime, then offer my analysis. Jessy Kurczewski was born on February 18, 1984, and lived in Pewaukee, Wisconsin. This is 21 miles west of Milwaukee. To make a living, Jessy worked in a dental office. In 2010, she was convicted of financial crimes. In 2016, she became a caregiver for a friend of the family named Lynn Hernan. Lynn had been born on June 26, 1956, and graduated from high school in 1974. After working as a hairstylist, she developed serious health problems and lived by herself in a condominium on Meadow Grass Circle. Jessy visited Lynn every day, assisting her with various tasks, and eventually obtained power of attorney. Now moving to the timeline of the crime. On Wednesday, October 3, 2018, at 4:55 p.m., Jessy Kurczewski called 911 and told the operator that Lynn Hernan was not conscious and not breathing. When the police arrived at Lynn's condominium, they found her dead in a recliner in the living room. There was crushed medication on her chest and on a plate next to her. Jessy told officers that Lynn had been behaving oddly in the time leading up to her death. For example, she had been throwing out bills, looking for documents, and claiming that the hospital was out to get her money. When Jessy checked Lynn's medication, there were either too many or too few pills, like Lynn was not taking the medication as prescribed. Lynn told Jessy that she did not want to be in a nursing home, and she issued instructions on how to care for her cats. She was tired of being physically ill, felt as though medical providers were not giving her straight answers, and told Jessy something to the effect of she didn't want to do this anymore. Jessy believed it was possible that Lynn had brought an end to her own life. Initially, the police were satisfied with this explanation as they waited for the autopsy results. Family members became suspicious of Jessy for a few reasons, including how Lynn left her entire estate to her. This was a generous gift for a caretaker, especially from someone with family members who were expecting an inheritance. Additionally, in the days following Lynn's death, Jessy started selling her property. The results of the autopsy became available in January 2019. The medical examiner concluded that Lynn had died from ingesting a lethal quantity of tetrahydrozoline, which is a chemical found in eye drops. Her manner of death was ruled homicide. The police informed Jessy of this finding and stated that the medical examiner thought that Lynn had been poisoned because there were no eye drop bottles near her body. The crushed medication on her chest and on the plate must have been staged by the killer. Jessy had never mentioned anything about eye drops prior to hearing the police talk about the autopsy results. After hearing about this, Jessy claimed that Lynn had purchased excessive quantities of eye drop bottles and had them all over the house. Specifically, she bought Visine. Jessy had never witnessed Lynn drink the eye drops. She denied any involvement in Lynn's death, claiming that she had never heard of Visine poisoning before. During a later interview, Jessy changed her story. Now she stated that she had seen Lynn put Visine in water bottles and in vodka and drink it. She was so worried about Lynn, Jessy would regularly throw away bottles of water which contained Visine. Jessy also indicated that Lynn had somehow illegally purchased a gun on the internet. On 2 occasions, Jessy walked in on Lynn and caught her with a gun in her hand. Jessy was trying to make it seem as though she had saved Lynn's life. During another interview, Jessy once again changed her story. Now she claimed that she gave Lynn a water bottle which had been filled with the contents of 6 Visine bottles. She did this at Lynn's request. Jessy did not believe that drinking the Visine would kill Lynn because it hadn't killed her yet. Lynn had been drinking it regularly for a long time, so Jessy just assumed that she would be fine. The police discovered that Jessy had defrauded Lynn for about $290,000 in just over 2 years. Some of the money was used for gambling. Jessy denied any financial wrongdoing, claiming that all the financial transactions were completed with Lynn's consent. On July 9, 2019, Jessy was arrested and charged with first-degree intentional homicide, theft of movable property over $100,000, and theft of movable property between $10,000 and $100,000. On November 14, 2023, Jessy Kurczewski was found guilty on all charges. For the murder charge, she received a sentence of life in prison with the possibility of parole after 30 years. For each of the theft charges, she received 5 years to be served consecutively. This means she cannot be released for at least 40 years. Jessy will be eligible for parole sometime around the age of 80. Now moving to my analysis. Jessy maintains her innocence. At her sentencing, she addressed Judge Jennifer Doro for 2 hours. A high level of confidence in her appeal was evident when Jessy said, quote, "And when, not if, my appeal happens, my conviction is overturned, you will see that I was right and that I maintained my innocence from the beginning, and that can be on this county, the medical examiner, the detectives, the DA, the jurors, and you, Judge Doro. All of you will have to live with that," unquote. This particular judge also presided over the case of Darrell Brooks. He's a murderer who had colorful mannerisms in court. I covered his case in another video. The judge did not appear to be impressed with Jessy's rambling and nonsensical statement. The state, of course, is happy with the verdict in Jessy's case. They argued that the evidence clearly pointed toward her guilt. This brings me to the question, was Jessy guilty of murder? Let's take a look at the evidence both for and against the idea that she was guilty, starting with the inculpatory factors. According to prosecution experts, Lynn's death was caused by drinking eye drops. The eye drops must have been ingested. There is no way Lynn could have acquired a lethal dose by simply using the product on her eyes. Jessy never mentioned eye drops until the police told her about the results of the autopsy. It doesn't make sense that Lynn would crush medication and place it on her chest and on a plate, but then drink eye drops. What motive did she have to frame someone for murder or otherwise cause confusion? Jessy told a friend that Lynn was in a coma during the last 5 months of her life, but this is not true. Jessy once complained that she had been drugged with eye drops, which indicates that she did understand how eye drops could be dangerous. Eventually, Jessy told the police that she gave a bottle containing water and Visine to Lynn. She acted as though Lynn requested the bottle, but this still indicates that Jessy at least assisted in Lynn's death. Jessy had been convicted of financial crimes in 2010, so she had a history of stealing. During her time as Lynn's caregiver, Jessy acquired almost $300,000 of Lynn's money. She claimed that Lynn gave it to her, but this is difficult to believe. People who knew Lynn testified that she was frugal and would never give anyone cash. She only gave inexpensive gifts. The way that Lynn's money was spent in the last 2 years of her life was dissimilar to her previous spending pattern and similar to Jessy's pattern. Prior to designating Jessy as her caregiver, Lynn did not buy lavish gifts. She rarely went online to shop, and she mostly used cash. In contrast, Jessy often bought lavish gifts, regularly shopped online, and frequently used credit cards. Lynn's credit score dropped dramatically in the months leading up to her death. Under Jessy's management, Lynn's bank account balance decreased from $260,000 to $500 in just over 2 years. Money was running out before Lynn died, which gave Jessy a motive to kill. Jessy just happened to inherit Lynn's entire estate, which did not appear to be Lynn's original intent. Lynn may have been seriously ill toward the end of her life, but she was still making plans for the future. She never spoke to anyone about bringing an end to her life. Jessy had deleted files from her phone containing terms like cyanide and poisoning. She ordered 2 unassembled firearms using Lynn's credit card and a fake email address. Moving to the exculpatory factors, defense experts implied that Lynn had a grim medical history, which included COPD and substance use. She was non-compliant with treatment because she regularly consumed alcohol, benzodiazepines, and opioids. There was medication found in her system that was no longer prescribed to her. Lynn also smoked cigarettes. She died from mixed drug toxicity, and the manner of death was undetermined. Again, this is according to defense experts. It seemed clear that Lynn was preparing for death in some ways. For example, She had a do not resuscitate order in place and had discussed what would happen to her belongings after her death. Even though Lynn's spending habits did change when Jessy was around, Lynn spent quite a bit of money before the beginning of the caregiver arrangement. In the 2 years preceding this arrangement, Lynn's account went from just under $350,000 to about $260,000. Maybe Lynn simply increased her spending even more after Jessy was in the picture, but it wasn't necessarily Jessy's fault. When considering all the evidence in this case, do I believe that Jessy was guilty? Yes, I believe she was guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. What do I think happened in this case? This is just a theory, my opinion. Jessy liked to spend money irresponsibly, which included gambling. When she became Lynn's caregiver, she saw a golden opportunity to steal. After taking essentially all of Lynn's money, Jessy did not want the party to end. She murdered Lynn with eye drops after exploring other types of poison and trying to build a gun. After being convicted, Jessy came up with a scheme to escape responsibility. Using paper intended to take notes at trial, Jessy wrote a 37-page letter which included instructions to a friend named Jessica. The authorities intercepted this letter. It offers some insights into how Jessy's thought processes functioned. Jessy indicated that she could not spend the rest of her life locked away for something she didn't do, and mentioned how prison was unpleasant. She asked her friend Jessica to help her by participating in a bizarre, complex, and comically transparent plot. Jessy wanted her friend to create an audio recording as if she was Lynn. In this recording, Lynn exonerated Jessy. Jessy offered incredibly detailed instructions on every phase of this plot, including a warning about what the friend could and could not say over the phone or when visiting Jessy in jail, a list of supplies that a friend would need and how to buy them, the script which was to be recorded as Lynn, and a message for the cover letter that would accompany the recording when it was mailed to a long list of people like the judge, the governor, several attorneys, and the media. The friend was supposed to find this recording buried in a park. Jessy promised to give the friend money if she would help her. I think the most revealing part, as far as Jessy's personality, was the script that the friend was supposed to read while pretending to be Lynn. In the script, Lynn took 100% responsibility for everything that happened and completely vindicated Jessy. Every possible item that was damaging for Jessy as far as her criminal case was covered in this recording, and Lynn talked at length about how great Jessy was. Based on Jessy's bad behavior, including her letter, she appears to be cold, callous, sadistic, impulsive, self-centered, irresponsible, manipulative, calculating, grandiose, lacking insight, and assumes that other people are extremely gullible. Her solution to every problem is to manipulate. Jessy truly believes that she is always just one scam away from getting everything she wants. Now moving to my final thoughts. Jessy's 2-hour statement at her sentencing and her 37-page letter are probably just a preview of the stories that she will create in the future. She stated that she will not stop fighting for her own truth, but it's more likely that she will simply produce more complex but deeply flawed criminal schemes featuring no empathy component. In a prison environment, this essentially makes Jessy a noise machine who will bore her fellow inmates to death. For Jessy, prison is an unbearable and nightmarish punishment. For whoever is unlucky enough to be her cellmate, Jessy is the punishment they will come to fear. Those are my thoughts in the case of Jessy Kurczewski. Please put any opinions and thoughts in the comment section. They always generate an interesting dialogue. As always, I hope you found my analysis of this topic to be informative. Thanks for watching.